Thank you for watching our video. This show is sponsored by DreamStream. DreamStream is a unique platform where creators can monetize their video content. All creators rely on support from people like you. Join us on the DreamStream platform to support your favorite creator and view the episode without any adverts. Follow the link in the description for a how-to guide. DreamStream, a place where you can create yourself.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Good Vibes Only Show. I'm Kgoroeadira. Thank you so much for tuning into another edition of the show. Super excited as usual. You know, every other week we are joined by amazing guests, and today is no different. I'm joined by Green, who is an actress, she's a director, she's a lecturer. The list goes on and on. And on. Green, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for inviting me.
I am looking forward to this conversation.
Yes,
We had a
so
brief
excited.
discussion before going on air, but I'm super excited. Before we get into our conversation, though, I usually love establishing conversation with my guests just to find out a little bit more about the individual that we have seated in front of us prior to who we see right now. So tell me a bit about yourself growing up. How were things for you?
Wow. So I was born in the town of Polokwane, Kotefo, and then my mother and my father and my twin brothers, right? That was the family setup. But I must say that I had a period of time where I wasn't really growing up at home, because my parents shipped me off quite early to do school in Joburg. So from Polokwane to Joburg, that was my trail. And I remember Kadi holidays would go past my grandmother's place in Mokopane, and then I'd go to Polokwane. So that's really me. And so I feel like I have quite a nomadic experience from a very young age. But I mean, I'm grateful for it. And then there came a time, I think it was in 1990, I think. In 1990, I said to my mom, please, ke kgopela gore o nhumanele space ko gae, because
Yeah.
I want to come back. I want to be in Polokwane. There was so I was living in Deep Kloof at the time, and I just felt like the space is not for me anymore. So can I please come back home? And so in 1991, I went to PIMS, which is in Polokwane. And then we got transferred in that very same year. Well, my dad got transferred, to a new branch in Pretoria. And so I've been in Pretoria since 1991. I went to Arcadia Primary School, and then my high school was at Girls High. Yeah.
Now, when during that period did your love for the arts begin?
Sure. I So it wasn't during that period.
Is it? Okay.
Right? So I don't have one of those narratives where
Yeah.
I've been acting since
you were 3.
since I was 6 years old,
Yeah.
But I do remember that in grade 11, standard 9, there was so obviously the school was very cultural as well, right? So the houses, we had like these houses, and I was part of Clarendon House. So we had to put up a play. And there was this play that we did called The Cage Birds, directed by Janet Jobson. And I kind of had my taste there.
Okay.
And I thought that perhaps this could be a choice. This could perhaps be a move that I could make. But before that, prior to that, we had one of those school outings and career opportunities. So we had a career field day at the school. And then there was a helicopter perched on one of the grasslands. And I was like, this might be
Interesting.
So I hopped in, and we flew that helicopter. And I was like, actually, this is what I want to be. I think I want to be a pilot. I went back home, got it. Baba, I want to be a pilot.
Yeah.
So then they're like, okay, go do the research. How much is it going to cost? So I came back with all of that information. But then after matriculating, and in the first year, I did a series of tests, and unfortunately I failed the hearing because I'm partially deaf, and I failed the height at the time, right, to be a pilot. So then my thing was, okay, we need to think about what is the next best thing outside of the office. And I thought drama because I had a taste of it during Cage Birds. So I then auditioned to various institutions. But at the same time, I was also going to the Fashion School of Design because I wanted to do interior designing or fashion design. Went for an interview. Literally the next day, the lecturer was like, "Listen, you've got a spot." But I remember a conversation with my mom, and she was like, "Listen, I think follow your heart, right? I think." So her words, I think you can be a fashion designer at like the age of 50 or whatever. You can get into that industry. But I think when it comes to art, because you have never really been exposed to it in that way, that you should really pursue that. So I pursued that and I was accepted at Wits, and the theater bug hit me and bit me very, very hard. And I really think that it chose me. I think that it chose me because that wasn't my first option. So I sit here thinking that, yeah, I was chosen. I was chosen for this medium. Yeah.
Now, we had a brief discussion before going on to air about your breakthrough season, right? And it's often said that we know it's a very hard industry to get into. And it's often said that a lot of the opportunities are there, but the opportunities are given to the same people. So when was that period when you got your breakthrough? That first, or not even first audition, but that period where you got your first on-screen work and you never looked back. When was that period? Walk us through it as well.
So I'm in my first year at Wits in 2003. And so you're obviously exposed to various courses and various subjects. Right after the year, well, closer to the end of the year, my movement teacher at the time catches me, off guard, and she asks me, "So what are you going to major in next year in second year?" And I was like, "I don't know. I don't know what I want to do. Really, I'm confused." And she's like, "Come to physical theater. I will teach you everything there is to know about performance, right? Not just acting, but performance." So I enrolled in physical theater as my major, and I had also writing and directing at the same time. But it was in that year, and I think it was 2005. So I'm still a major, obviously. Now this is my third year in physical theater. And I got a call, literally, from my lecturer saying that her agent at the time was casting for a film. This is now, uh, what is it? By Philip Noyes. So she's like, "Yeah, the director and the agent would like to come see you." So I think that's my breakthrough. That's my first breakthrough in the industry. Catch a Fire. Catch a Fire. That's the title of the film. So I did Catch a Fire, and it was such an incredible experience. Incredible experience. That I will always really hold dear to in terms of like the ethics and how set conduct is operated or operates. So that was my breakthrough in 2005 when I did Catch a Fire by Philip Noyes. But then after that, I think that my career just really unraveled and unfolded in the ways that it did. And I'll forever be grateful to, again, the people that we really don't honor as much as we should, lecturers and teachers, so yeah, that was my moment.
Now, with that said, the people that you really do honor, who's your source of inspiration? Or what would be your source of inspiration?
For the work that I do?
Yes.
So it's, there's a lot. But I think people in general, right? Because as a lecturer as well, part of the stuff that I tell my students is that you need to be of the world. You need to be aware of the world that you're in, observe people, right? Because you're going to at some point draw from what you have seen for your character, for your role. But when it comes to directing, one of my favorite directors is Tim Burton. I just love the way he works with contrast, right? So with light and darkness. So he's really channeled, and I have funneled a lot of the ways that he works into my directing work, into my directing like theater work. Because I haven't really stepped into the film and television industry just yet. But just the way he sees the world and views the world, and that idea of duality is something that I'm always fascinated about. so yeah, I would say that those are my inspirational people. Yeah.
Now let's go into your theater. This is something that, and I was saying this to you earlier on, that I would think that this is something that you really, really love more than the television space. But
Yeah.
take us through the process of getting into theater. There's a lot of people that would like to go into this particular space, but they
Yeah.
don't know how to. And they also don't know what it requires to be in this particular space.
Yeah.
Can you take us through that?
Need a photo studio? The Dreamstream Photo Studio includes a 2.7-meter PVC backdrop in black and white and is available for only 115 rands per hour. You can also rent a Canon R6 and lights. All rentals are for studio use only. Terms and conditions apply. Contact studio at dreamstream.co.za.
Thank you, Ben, for coming out tonight. My name is Son of Augustus.
Sure. There's a lot, but I will start with so I had a plan. This would be after studying a course called TV Studies, and a lecturer of mine called Tanya Sakot came in one day and said, listen, guys, I have to be real with you. You need to understand that our TV industry is very fickle.
Yeah.
Television is very fickle
Yeah.
in the sense that there's a particular aesthetic that we're looking for. There's a particular
Look.
there's an appearance that TV is always aspiring towards, right? Because there's a particular lifestyle you're selling
Yeah.
when you're doing television. So she said to us as a class that a lot of you are not eye candy, and that has always stuck with me. That you are not eye candy.
Jeez.
And we didn't take offense to that. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't take offense to that. And by that she meant that most of you are not going to bring the boys to the yard, right? And by the boys to the yard is that a lot of people are not going to be tuning in to see
Yeah.
you, which means and translates into ratings,
Yeah.
right? So I went back home. I went back to my place and I looked myself in the mirror and I was like, listen here, she was talking to you. So you need to find where you belong.
Yeah.
Right? And then that's how I asserted myself in the theater space. And I promised myself and I made a vow to myself that for the next 2 years I will work so hard that by the time I reach my third year, people are just tapping me on the shoulder saying that, listen, we've got this role for you. Are you interested? Right? Theater is not it's not easy in the sense that it's very different from television, and I think we need to also understand that the working hours are very different. And I think TV is far more rigorous.
Yeah.
Far more rigorous.
Yeah.
And challenging in the sense that things can happen tomorrow, right? You don't have the process time that you have with theater. Theater is beautiful in that way that it gives you time to develop your character. It gives you time to understand the world of the play that you are in, to really have a rapport and a chemistry with your fellow actors. So and then when you get to television is quick.
Yeah.
It's almost like a microwave, right? But that you have to adapt. You have to adapt. And so part of what I say to my students as well is that, listen, you have to go through the rigor of theater to understand yourself as a performer first, before you understand the medium that you are in, right? Because if you cannot be able to adapt to those mediums, then you're going to be frazzled, you're going to be unsettled. So every actor, for me personally, needs to go through the rigor and the discipline of theater, because there's a particular ethic and etiquette that really harnesses your craft, right, as a performer. And once you understand that, then you are able to be very malleable to the spaces that you are in, whether it's on stage or whether it's on screen. But then there are certain, I think one of the things that we don't speak often enough about is the study of it.
Yeah.
I think it's very important. No, not I think. I
It
know
is.
it is very important to study it, right? So, in the same ways that you would never ask a doctor just to perform surgery on you, right? This is a science. Art is a science, and I think a lot of people don't really revere it as that.
Yeah.
But it is a science after all. So, whether it's informal or formal institutions, I think you need to enroll yourself in those to understand what it is that you are doing, right? You can't just wake up yesterday and think that you can be an actor.
Yeah.
Really, honestly,
And a lot of people think that you just go read a script and you can now develop that character. There's a lot that goes into it.
So there's education around it, right? There are people who have come before us who have written about this theater, who have literally given their lives to understanding how the machine works, right? So there's certain mechanics and technicalities that we have to consider when you are crafting yourself as a performer. It's not just I can do this, and even if so, this is not to say that certain people can find raw talent, right? But I know that that raw talent is at least taken through a series of lessons, of mentorship, right? I'm always blown away when I hear that Denzel Washington, for example, still has a mentor to this day.
Yeah.
So he still goes for classes. Whenever he receives a script, he's like, "Okay, mentor, I've got a script. Let's work through it. Let's iron out. Let's wrestle. Let's grapple with what this character and who this character is, right?" And I think so. It's so important that we understand that there's a lot that goes into this craft. It's not easy. It really isn't. And you really need to have the drive and the love for it. Because sometimes you may experience gaps where you're not performing. But it's important to, in those gaps, what are you doing? What are you doing? I remember this interview with Don Cheadle where he was saying, a lot of young people come to me and say, "Listen, how can I get into the industry? How can I, do this and do that?" And he said simply, "But what are you doing now?
Yeah.
What are you doing now until you get your break?
Yeah.
What are you doing? Are you getting together with your friends and going through a scene, like recording it and then asking certain people to look in and ask, and
How
give
do
you
you,
critique and give you critique on your performances? But what are you doing now? Are you reading a book? Are you going to see theater? Are you watching films? Are you downloading a film script and understanding how that translated to the film itself? Right? What are you doing now? And so we miss that. We miss the point of, in the interim of you not working or you not having found anything that you're doing, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing to continue the muscle, right? Exercising the muscle, because acting, performing is a muscle, right?
Yeah.
So it needs to constantly be nourished. Yeah.
Now, as you constantly nourish that muscle, you'll constantly go to auditions.
Yeah.
And then you'll get those auditions where you really, really want them, and then you get that no. You go to another audition, you get that no. You continue to go to auditions and you get.
Right? But that should never ever at any point define the kind of actor you are. Sometimes we have to accept that I was not really fitting for the role,
Yeah.
right? And it had nothing to do with your audition. It had nothing to do with how brilliant you are, because there are many other factors that determine whether you're going to get that role or not, right? So we have to consider that there are broadcasters, there's channel, there is directors, there are producers, right? Who for that show, they feel like that person would be better.
Yeah.
That person would be better, right? So the no's are going to come constantly and consistently, but you need to consciously build yourself, right? And so one of the other nuggets of wisdom I like giving
You
my
have in your pocket.
students, like giving my students, is that you need to be able to create work for yourself.
Okay.
So at base level, you need to be able to create work, because theater one is far and few in between.
Yeah.
Right? The jobs and the opportunities are not as many as television and film, right? So are you writing?
Yeah.
Right? Once you've written something, get together with a couple of friends that are just willing to read the script, right? And then you get their opinions and the suggestions and then stage that, right? So, and I know that everything then can be driven by money.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think if you're really in it for the right reasons, then the money will come.
Okay.
Right. There are certain avenues that you can go to get the money. But I think that in the initial stages, as you're beginning, as you're finding your voice, right, either as a director, writer, actor, whatever it is, it's really, really important to share your art, to share your art, because bet you there is somebody in that audience who will then pick something up, right? So yeah, that's what I would really say. Like, we need to accept that the no's are coming, that the no's will be very many.
Yeah.
But once that yes arrives, be ready for it. Be ready for it, and you'd be prepared if you have been doing the work.
Yeah.
In the time that you've been waiting for that yes to arrive. Yeah.
In waiting for that yes, have you ever doubted yourself? And I think we need to have such conversations, because we need to have realistic conversations, you know.
Sure.
Have you ever?
Have I ever doubted myself as
in your craft? In your craft, when you continue to get no's and go to auditions and get those no's, have you?
I'm on my feet, the underdog, and I won't be beat. Turn the lights up now, welcome to the show. I ain't never
Are you a musician?
my eyes on the prize until I die. I'm gonna rise.
The Dream Stream Music Studio is now available on Sundays for only 295 rands per hour.
We work for a falling line. We gon' give it all until the end, until the end of time.
It includes a 12-channel desk, a variety of mics and cables, electronic drum kit, and a laptop for recording. Terms and conditions apply, and booking is essential. Contact studio at dreamstream.co.za for a site visit.
I don't necessarily think that it's doubt. It's more a disappointment that I wasn't given the chance to perform or to portray that character. It's not doubt. I don't think I have doubt. So I don't have doubt in my career. I don't have doubt in my capabilities and my ability.
Yeah.
I no, doubt is not a thing for me.
Yes.
In what I can do and in what I'm able to deliver. So I don't have doubt.
Yeah.
But I think that I have been very disappointed with certain roles that I really, really wanted, and I was like, oh my gosh, I could have done such amazing
And
things.
then you see Mang Mang.
And you're like, okay, is that who you went with?
Yeah, yeah.
Fine, that's absolutely great. And there's certain people that have won auditions over me, and I'm like, yeah, okay, yeah,
They deserve it.
that's fine.
Yeah.
I can live with that, you know. But then there are others where I was like, but guys,
Yeah.
honestly speaking, is this the route that we took? And but that, all that to say, you really, really need to understand that it had nothing to do with you. It had nothing to do with you. So the rejection had nothing to do with you. So when we get so many no's, right, I think it's an opportunity for the actor or the performer or the artist to understand that how else can I spread myself?
Yeah.
Right. So like I said, I never doubted myself. It was more about, okay, this is a challenging moment now for me. So what else can I do? If I'm not going to get that role, if I'm not going to be able to be in that series or in that telenovela, what am I doing? What am I doing? And so part of what I when I went back to my flat in 2004, after our lecturer said what she said, I made sure that for the next years, I would diversify myself.
Yeah.
And I think it's very important to understand that in South Africa, you need to be diversified as much as possible within the arts field, right? Because we don't have infrastructure that supports us to completely and solely be a performer.
Yeah.
Right. So other spaces and other countries do that. The structures are able to construct that, okay, you want to focus on being an actor, here are the tools.
Yes.
Here is the space. Here's the holding, right? So in South Africa, I feel like there are a lot more challenges. And so you need to really, find, like, put your hands in everything.
Yeah.
In all the baskets.
Don't be afraid also.
Exactly. Explore and exhaust all the avenues that you can. before you make the choice, the decision to say, okay, I'm going to go into another field, right? So those are the vows I made to myself to say, listen, I'm going to exhaust everything. Once I have tried everything and still things don't work, then I'll look elsewhere. But I'm still here. And because I have branched as an artist into so many other avenues in the field, right? So I've taken all the positions
Yeah.
on the field. And some, yes, I, still need to grow in, and others I'm thriving in. But it's such an exciting journey. Such an exciting journey. Yeah.
Now, there's a conversation that's been going on in the film industry where often directors are choosing people with a huge following as opposed to raw talent. What is your standpoint on that? Because apparently influencers and people with a large following bring your viewership to channel or whatever it may be that you put across a platform, but raw talent is getting lost within that. What is your view?
It is. All I can say is I'm so grateful and thankful to Ndate Jerome for what he said at the Status this year. Um, he pleaded
Yeah.
with our producers and broadcasters and channel to really stop hiring influencers, right? And at the heart of that, what he's saying is there are certain people who have studied this craft. Most people have studied this craft. This is our job, right? This is our
Livelihood,
this is our
your life.
livelihood. So when you go outside of that, then you're really marginalizing the rest of us. Where if we were given the opportunity, because not all of us are going to be showing our bodies on, our nakedness or our nudeness on social media platforms. I mean, I'm not even on Twitter. Do you know what I mean? So and when I was asked why I don't have a Twitter account, I was just like, listen, that's got nothing to do with my job.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, what are you expecting me to actually engage with on these Twitter streets concerning what I'm doing when I get to sit?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with anything, right? So I refused. I refused to get a Twitter account. I'm like, I'm not going to do that. That space is very toxic. That space is, and I know that it's obviously there's a myriad of things that happen or are engaged with on that platform. But I even the sad reality is that when we start getting into the space where certain people are losing their jobs because of what people are saying on Twitter, not understanding that this is somebody's job, right? Then we're in dangerous territory. I don't know how we're going to fix that. But my view around followers is that we need to go back to the drawing board and really honor people who are giving themselves to this craft and to this art, who are studying it, right? Because again, I say it again, it's a science, right? You wouldn't ask a medical doctor just to perform surgery on you, right? So I don't know why we would just ask somebody off the street to perform or to take on a role whereas you have such a pool of potential performers who'd be able to execute that role so brilliantly and so authentically, because they understand the parameters around how to create and build a role. So it is disheartening that we have reached the stage, and it is increasing, but I do think that at some point we will find it, at a stage or a place where it's shifting and we are honoring actors that we have in this country.
I feel like now, because people are talking about it, at first people were a bit silent or talking behind the scenes. Now it's being brought to the forefront.
And there's a fear, right?
Yeah.
There's a fear that if you are so vocal and open, and that you won't get jobs.
Yeah.
This one is too much of a talker. Let's not hire them.
How about the drama?
And it happens. Let me tell you, it happens. And I think I've been experiencing that. But again, never had doubt in my capabilities.
Yeah.
So I've never really relied on people's opinions or what is happening in the ether in terms of our industry. I've always managed to just go forward and to continue producing work. Because now, like, published writer and all.
Yes.
So, so if I'm not teaching, if I'm not writing, if I'm not directing, if I'm not acting, there's something else that I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
In the field. So I think I've got a couple more years with the field before I see an exit. But yeah.
Now, as we wrap it up, what are your highs and lows? Let's start with the lows so that we can end it on a high.
Oh, what are my lows in this industry? I'd have to say it's more management,
Okay.
right? It's the red tapes that we artists experience. Um, because it seems like if you're not the golden boy or the golden girl, that you won't get those opportunities. So it's very, very saddening and yeah, quite a low point when you are recognizing how this machine works. So when you don't fit part of the mechanism of it, so those have been my lows, just in recognition of how things operate, not necessarily being taken down by, the nose, or you can't be in this space or you can't do that. So in my career, really, yeah, I'd say those are my lows.
Okay.
I'd say those are my lows, but my highs have got to be the work that I've been privileged to do. I love the teaching space, but I also love the performance side of it. This year, I mean, I got to perform Rose, in Fences, and it was such an incredible experience. And I'll always be grateful to Bab John Kani for that opportunity, to be in the room with such incredible talent. And to be able to do what we did with that show was exceptional and so incredible. I really don't have a show that I regret having been a part of. Because again, I learn, right? So I'm looking at the director as they direct us. I'm looking at other fellow actors and how we are all engaging with each other. I'm looking at literally the things that happen behind the scenes. I'm looking at the costume design and how they engage the lighting person, because those things fascinate me. Right? So lighting is one of my favorite things to do as a director. How you light a mood, how you light atmosphere, how you light mood, how you light a scene. So I'm always constantly in a space of being a sponge and absorbing
Learning as much
everything.
as possible.
That's why I have more highs than lows, because everything that I do, every project that I'm a part of, I approach it and I get in there as a sponge and I'm like, yes, yes, give me, give me, give me. And I drink of everybody that is in this space. Yeah.
And lastly, what can we look forward to from Green? What does the future hold?
Whew. Whew. This is hard. I mean, I have aspirations of directing film and television. Currently, I'm working with students from AFDA and the Market Theatre, and I'm directing their graduation pieces. But you can look forward to an academy, and as well as me being in the space of television and film as a director. Yeah.
Nice. Green, all the best for the future. Thank you so much for your time. You are so appreciated. Your work is beautiful. And you viewers, thank you so much for watching. We truly appreciate you. Until next week, from me, Kgoroeadira.